The next panel discussion will provide you with a toolbox filled with tactics to understand how to survive and thrive in challenging times. 2016 is a year full of challenges. So, this panel discussion is hosted by Mr. Aziz Merchant, Director Brands Management Consultancy. He has leveraged his brand management expertise gained through a decade of hands-on experience by creating luxury boulevard retail stores, including Zenith, Omega, Longines, Rado, amongst others. Please welcome Mr. Aziz Merchant, who will introduce the fellow panelists.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I think the morning sessions have set the tone for this session now. We've taken a helicopter view, we've understood what are the macro issues, and now I think it's time to go into the trenches and try to equip ourselves to see if these are the forces at play. How do we beat the odds? Times are turbulent. What is it that we as SMEs must do? So we are hoping that this session will give you some very tangible takeaways, things we are hoping and praying that you can start from implementing from tomorrow. That was the wish of this panel. And when we deliberated the topic, we said to ourselves, to beat the odds, we must do 4 things. A company must review and revisit its competitive advantages. What is it that gives this company a competitive edge? Second, how can we now start thinking about what if versus what is? Which means, how can we be a prediction-enabled organization? How can we predict the environment and the changing scenario? It's very important for one to now start predicting. We know there is no crystal ball, but still, big organizations are doing this today. Third is to be absolutely bottom line driven. Very important. Cash is the king. And finally, how do you ring fence yourself from the future anticipated shocks which are writing on the wall? So I think post this deliberation, the team said, let's translate these 4 strategies into themes and let's deliberate these for the audience to have some tangible takeaways. Let me now introduce you to the panelists. To start, we have a SME entrepreneur who's known to be a strategic game changer. His name is Ajay Bindru. Ajay, can we have you on stage, please? Ajay began his journey as a management trainee at an age of 21. He was instrumental in shaping the success, growth, and expansion of a family-owned business to global multinational. Ajay has established a global venture that creates to consumer goods, ranging from beauty and personal care, grooming products to oral care, bath and hygiene, hair care, and home care products. Under his flagship brand of Classico brands, over a dozen brands have been created and have been or in the process of being launched worldwide. The global beauty, personal care, and grooming industry is valued at USD 400 billion globally, with a market cap at over USD 2 trillion, posing a huge opportunity for Ajay's brand portfolio. The company takes pride in its strong distribution network in all 5 continents and partnered state-of-the-art production facilities across Europe, Middle East, Asia, and Latin America. The company also has offices in UK, UAE, India, and expanding now to Singapore, US, and Panama with associates in over 50 countries. Ajay is a true visionary with a big picture. He's the one who makes sure that the company's concept and strategies are the right ones and that we are staying on track. Thank you, Ajay, for joining. Next, we have with us today someone who was very good at predicting some years ago about the changing model of business, of real estate business. We have with us today Michael Layani, founder and CEO of PropertyFinder.ae. Michael, can we have you on stage, please? After gaining experience in working with print real estate listings, Michael recognized the gap in the market for online listings, and that's when Property Finder was born, soon becoming one of the most popular property portals in the region. Since the company's launch in 2007, Michael's effective business model for brokerage firm has since attracted high-profile local and international investors, enabling it to operate successfully across the MENA region with offices in 7 countries. In 2013, the company won SME Info Online Business of the Year award and the Dubai SME 100 and Index of Dubai Economic Department twice in a row. Serving as a director on the board of various tech companies, Michael has become a regular speaker at the Harvard Business Conference. Prior to founding the company, Michael began his career as PricewaterhouseCoopers in his hometown of Geneva. He holds an MBA with specialty in finance from Lausanne, having completed an exchange program at UCLA in California. Welcome and thank you for joining, Michael.
Thank you.
An entrepreneur, a person who has been predicting for too long, and now we have a very senior banker with extensive SME experience. May I call on stage Satyajit Roy, Head of Business Banking SME, CBI, Commercial Bank International. Satya is the Head of Business Banking at CBI. Satya is a seasoned international banker with over 25 years of experience in retail and commercial banking with a particular focus on serving SMEs. He has a strong track record of starting and developing businesses across geographies, managing the P&L and driving innovation to ensure delivery of multi-product banking solutions to meet and exceed customer expectations. Prior to joining CBI, Satya had a long career at Citibank, where he was most recently head of commercial banking for UAE and Bahrain. During his time at Citi, Satya held various senior management roles in India, Middle East, and the UK. Satya has a Master of Business Administration in Marketing and Bachelor of Science in Electronics. So you can see now a very esteemed panel here, and to make it even more meaningful, I would like to call Craig Moore, CEO of Beehive, his company also won the award this morning. Thank you, Craig, for joining us. As founder and CEO of Beehive, Craig is responsible for overseeing the overall strategic direction and managing the day-to-day operations of the company. Before founding Beehive, Craig founded Butterfly Software, a data analytics and migration software company acquired by IBM in September 2012. Prior to Butterfly, his experience included various sales, consulting, and finance roles at numerous multinational companies such as Dell, HSBC, with an emphasis on shaping effective go-to-market and value propositions. And our final panelist today is someone who comes with a lot of hardcore local experience of combating issues and challenges for SME. Please welcome Mr. Murthy, who is the CEO of Bloom Business Strategies, Dubai. Welcome, Mr. Murthy. A strategic management and financial services professional with over 30 years experience with focused consulting and mentorship experience of over 15 years for the corporate and banking sector professionals. A strategic planner in customized strategies and domains, and with experiences in numerous countries such as UAE, Middle East, Nigeria, and India. With possesses considerable experience and maturity for effective targeted goals and objectives. So ladies and gentlemen, they are the ones who are going to tell us the how. To start with one of out of the four themes that we identified today, the first one being, how do you sustain your competitive advantage in turbulent times? Ajay, would you mind sharing some of your thoughts on this topic?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hello. Yeah. I will go back, whatever 25 years of experience, what I had in the consumer business, and I will be going more towards consumer business than any other business.
Sure.
Right now, I think if we look at the region where in last 1.5 year, we have seen really the turbulent time because of the oil price is going down, whatever is happening in the region. So we live in a different region than what we were maybe 2-3 years back. Right. What I have learned in my life, 3 fundamentals when things go wrong. You have to look at, as an SME, what exactly you want to come out with any product, but who's going to sell it, where it is going to be sold, what is my proportion to the consumer. So that means you have to, the first thing you have to keep in your mind is who's going to, when you're talking about a consumer, who's going to buy is innovation. So how it is different from others. Right. Number 2 is if your innovation is great, how much it's going to cost you, the cost base. That's very important because I have seen a lot of people tend to forget that because they create the innovation, but then the cost base is so high, it loses the competitive edge. And number 3, if your cost base gets right, where do you want to sell it? So how do you want to execute it and where do you want to execute it? And that is where fundamentally we have seen a lot of people get the cost right, innovation is right, but then they face the issue in execution of it. Okay. If one can assess these 3 in the initial once you make any business plan or any business proposition, and look at these 3, what are your competitive advantages? That is where you will win half of the battle.
Right. So what Ajay is trying to tell us is, if you focus on your product categories, how you innovate and expand those product categories, and also focus on the price proposition, which is something that will give you a very strong competitive edge during the cost base.
So because you can define the pricing when your cost base is right. Because consumer, you can only offer something when you know what it's going to cost. Because in a retail business today, which is today very competitive, I mean, it is not easy to get into retail unless you have the heavy gross margins. How do you derive the gross margins is basically you look at your costs and then you can decide your end price. But your cost base is not right and you are not manufacturing it at the right place, the whole proportion goes other way around.
So Ajay, that one takeaway is cost. Be very cost centric, which is nothing but the value proposition to your end user, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, that's one. In terms of the way you do things, could that also be a competitive edge? I mean, would it help if you develop a key strength and make it into a competitive edge for you during turbulent times?
Yeah, I mean, being an entrepreneur, you have to see what is your strength and what is weakness in the market. You don't have to go what strength is in the market and what is your weakness. You have to go other way around. You have to see who you're competing with and understand their strength and their weaknesses. And then you actually match. You don't go to their strength, what their strength is, you go to their weaknesses. So that's what I said the last point is execution. So you don't go, if your competitor is so big, so you don't go straight and fight head on. What you got to see is what are the battlegrounds where they are losing, and that is where you start with, rather just going head on, because you will still make some inroad there. Otherwise, it becomes an expensive proposition because you got to raise the huge money and you don't know whether it will pay the dividends.
Right.
So you got to have your own battlefield ready, because that's where I said execution. Execution of any product is not within the Dubai or Vision or GCC. You got to see where these battlefields are open for you. There
Market
are 210
expansion.
countries in the world. So,
Correct.
you know, I am a guy who has done all my life the global business. I don't know, you know, the base has been great as Dubai, but we have nurtured all the 5 continents. So for me,
Very
Dubai is,
interesting.
you know, great base, but then the consumer is everywhere. So you got to choose that battlefield. That's very important.
Right. So Ajay doesn't have a dependency on a particular market, because what he did was he started building his competitive edge over his competitors by expanding his market base. So he didn't dive too deep into one market. He developed various markets. So today, if there is a fluctuation in one market, he is insulated in the sense that he doesn't have a very high dependence on a mono market per se. Correct? Is that how it was? Craig, would you like to elaborate a bit on how does one build one's competitive edge in turbulent times, and how does that help?
Yes, I mean, I would echo what AJ says. Essentially, I think what you've got to do is you look at a lot of good ideas. There's a lot of good ideas. Many great ideas are created. The difference between the ones that succeed and the ones that fail tend to be the ones that are executed well. So, you know, a good idea well executed is better than a great idea poorly executed. And I think it's about understanding what you believe is your value proposition, taking that value proposition and then having almost maniacal focus on that value proposition and executing on that. So,
Excellent.
you know, I think what's great about somewhere like Dubai is you've got a lot of cultures that come together, you've got a lot of individuals from different parts of the world. You know, that should be seen as a strength in terms of harnessing and understanding and refining, and then using that to go and actually execute models that just don't need to work domestically, but can actually work internationally, because you will tend to have a lot of people who will live here or you know, are based here that will be from other markets. So you can almost get a good understanding just by networks here as to what may work in Africa or Central Asia or Southeast Asia or whatever. So I think it's having that focus is critical, especially as times get a bit tougher. It's actually the people that seem to just hanker down that little bit more, understand what they're trying to achieve, and then just get on and
Right. So identify your strength and build upon it is what the message is coming out here. Mr. Murthy, does cost correction